Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? I guess you can. All right. I will have to stand here, so if I behave strangely, that's because my movement is like really confined now, and I don't like that. So I'm a software engineer at RStudio, and I will talk to you about a package today called Pack, which is a package to install packages. It's kind of a package manager package. And the three main features of Pack that it's fast and safe and convenient. So I will basically just tell you what this means in details, and I will show you a couple of not live demos, but screencasts, which it turns out they play a little bit slower on this computer, so I will just try to get to them as quick as possible so we have time to watch all of them. Okay, so Pack is a new R package that is fast, and to be fast, it does a couple of things. The first thing that it does all the HTTP requests concurrently. If you have a package manager to install other packages, the way that works nowadays is that you have a package repository online, and you have to query, metadata from the package repository, and then you need to download the packages and so on. You can install packages from other sources like GitHub, and that also, involves doing HTTP requests. So it's important to make them, concurrently if you want to be fast. It does all the package builds and installations in parallel as well. Once you've got, the source packages or package tree tarballs downloaded, and it's also lazy, so it will only update or install a package if it's really needed. So if you tell Pack to install a package, but you have that package already installed, it will just not do anything. And the same with the dependencies as well. So if you tell Pack to install a package that has a bunch of dependencies, but you already have some versions of those dependencies installed, and those versions are satisfying, then Pack will just not do anything by default, but just tell you that you're done, you're good to go. It has caching, and that is probably what makes it fast. Is that it caches all the package metadata, so it will really only download new metadata files if it needs to, and it also caches all the packages that you download. So if you install the same packages over and over, then you don't need to download them several times, but they would just come from the package cache. So that's an interesting thing, actually. Just realize that you would think that you're not installing the same packages over and over. Like, what's the point in that, right? And that's one of the things that Pack is trying to help with, is to make package installations so fast and convenient and so reliable that you can use different workflows, new workflows, which means that you don't necessarily have to have a single library for all your projects, but you can have a separate package library for every project, because projects and packages that you work on, they have, they might require different versions of your dependencies, and then it's often a pain in the neck, to switch back and forth between them and just follow them, which one I have installed and which one I need to change if I switch to another project. So if you have, a very fast, convenient, reliable tool to install packages, from scratch, then switching between projects is easy, because you can just create these libraries, separately, one library for each project, and that's a more convenient, more reliable, safer workflow. Okay, so talking about safety, what does that mean? Well, you would think it's obvious to fail on error, but it's not actually. Not all package managers do that, because sometimes, if you don't manage to, get the metadata from one server, that's still okay, because you can get it from another one. And sometimes you fail to install, say, a suggested package. Maybe that's still okay, because maybe it's not needed. But so the philosophy here is better to know about these problems, early. And if you want to, install all the packages you need for a project, then if you do it with Pack, then it's done. You can be sure that they are there. That there were no silent warnings that you missed while doing the installation. Okay, so it leaves the packages in a working state. So it's not theoretically it's not atomic, because that's really hard to do. But it's almost atomic, basically. Either it will install a package or just leave the previous version. It installs all the dependencies in the same library, so you don't have to worry about what is installed where exactly. It reports all the conflicts up front, so it has a solver. So if you have, this doesn't really happen with CRAN packages, but if you install packages from other sources, then it might happen that some dependencies downstream conflict, and one package wants a certain version of another package, and another package wants a different version of the same thing, and then that's not possible to have in R. So pack will just tell you that what you're trying to install, that configuration will never work. Its own dependencies, so it's an R package, right? So it can have dependencies. It does have some dependencies. Some people say too many. So it puts all the dependencies, its own dependencies, in a private library, so those never actually conflict with your regular, project packages. It uses a sub-process to perform all the installation, and that's because if you load an R package into R, then it's kind of cumbersome to install that package, like you load it and you replace the installed version on the disk, and that can sometimes fail, especially on Windows. Also, there were some improvements recently regarding that. But anyway, so to avoid these complications, it never actually loads any package, in the main process, but it uses a sub-process, and the sub-process loads everything from this private library to make everything safe. And it will also give you a warning if you actually have, some packages that you're trying to update or install already loaded by some other means. Okay, so convenient means CRAN BIOS packages just work out of the box, which is, not such a big deal, right? You can install GitHub packages easily with giving, the GitHub slug, like rlib/pack would be the way to install pack from GitHub. You can install local packages, from files, trees. It supports this field, which is like an extra non-standard field in the description file called remotes, and you can use this field for things that don't go on CRAN because it's not allowed on CRAN. But you still need to specify dependencies from other sources. Then you can use remotes, and typically for CRAN packages we use this for when we are developing the package, and that's sometimes when you're developing a package, sometimes you need the development version of another package. And it tries to be nice, have a nice UI, so it will show you like the download sizes before actually the download starts, and progress bars and all this kind of stuff. So let's see if this will actually run. So we'll just install. So this is in the terminal because that was the easiest, that I can automate to create a screencast, but obviously you can use it in any GUI you want. So we just want to install the use this package, and then upfront it will tell you that it will also install all these other packages. So this is installing into an empty library, so obviously it needs to, install everything. But it was pretty quick, right? Because it didn't actually download anything because everything was in the cache in this case, and that's the point of the cache. That if you install the same packages a lot of times, disk is cheap. We just put them on the disk, and then it will just pull it from the disk. Now, if you do the same thing again, like on the top here, it will do nothing because everything is there already, right? Now, if we artificially remove one of the dependencies of useThis, and then we want to install useThis again, then it will just tell you that everything is fine except this mime package is missing, so we will just install that one. Okay, and that's again cached, so you didn't have to download anything. Okay, so here's another demo about GitHub packages and conflicts. So to install GitHub packages, you can use either a URL or you can use the GitHub slug like we will do now. So I'll just say rlib useThis. So this will install useThis from GitHub, and that will be the development version. And everything will look pretty much the same. It's a little bit different. You see in the front it says it will install rlib useThis, so that means it will come from GitHub. And if you want to continue, there's some glitch here. I guess that's the screen recorder software. Anyway, but otherwise it will go very similarly. One difference is that now we have just a package tree, useThis, that we downloaded from GitHub, so we actually have to build it, so there will be a building step in here, which might take a little bit longer because that might have vignettes and so on, so you need to build all these. But otherwise it's the same. Okay, so if we do package install useThis now, it will tell you that nothing is needed again because you have useThis. So if you just say useThis, that means useThis from any source is good. If it's already installed from any source, it's fine. Now, if you want to make sure that you have it from CRAN, you can just have this qualifier CRAN : and then it will surely install it from CRAN. So basically, this will switch back to the CRAN version. Okay, I will skip the conflicts because in the interest of time. So what I want to show you in this demo is local installation. So if you have a project or a package that you are developing locally, and you have a description file that has all the dependencies of that project or package. Just starting a little slowly, like the rev-check package. That's not even on CRAN. It has a lot of dependencies. So this command will list, just all of them from the description file in a nice table. So if you say, actually, yes, it even has some remote entries, you see? So if I say get remotes, it will tell us that, it has 2 dependencies that are not on CRAN, but they're coming from GitHub. So if you run local install dapps, this will, just get this dependency data out of the description file. It's a lot of dependencies. Again, this is going into an empty library, and it will just, install all of those, download them from the right place, and obviously install them in the right order, and then build them and then install them. Yes. I think that's it for this one. Okay, so very briefly, I want to talk about a little bit about the project-based workflows that I mentioned, before already. That having, a separate package library. So project-based workflows from the point of view of the package library. So having a separate library for every project, basically. So Pack doesn't really support this out of the box. It has some internal functions, to do it, but this is quite experimental, but it's really exciting. So I wanted to show you, what it has internally. And these functions might move to another package in the end, or might change a little bit. But the idea is basically that you have all the dependencies described in your description file, and then you have an R profile file, which is kind of technical to set up the library when you switch to this project. And then you have an R packages directory, which will be your library that is private to this project. So all the package installations, go into this library. And you will probably need to create an R build ignore file as well, that you ignore these files and directories when you build your actual R package. And the way it goes, it's like this. So you can create a project. This will set up this library, create these directories, create the R profile file. And then you can install. If you just install without any arguments, it will just install based on the description file. If you install with an argument, say install project install, use this, then it will add that new dependency to your package, add or update, to your package description, to the description file, and then install it obviously to the private library, and then you can remove and see the status and so on. So that's the last thing I want to show you, and I still have 2 minutes. Great. Yeah. So this is another package that I developed called Process X. So we switch to this one, and I will just create, a project here. I'll show you it has some dependencies, not a lot. Basically 2 hard dependencies because utils is a base package, and then I can create a package. This will create a project. Sorry, this will create the R profile. And it will also create actually the r-packages directory for the package library. And now if I say project install, then it will just populate that library, based on the description file. Yes. And if I now want to add, so these are all internal functions you see. So currently you need the triple colon operator. So these 2 packages are installed in the library. And if I want to add another dependency, I just have to say, project install and then the package name. And then say I want to add the clean call package, which would actually make sense to use in Process X, then it will add, this to the library. And if you look at the description file or look at the dependencies, that you'll see that they are updated. So that's basically all I had. A little bit of a roadmap, better project-based workflows. Designing workflows is really difficult because you need to collect data, experiments, and so on. And better failure diagnostics, it's a little bit hard to debug. A lot of speed up opportunities still, and more things to support. So the ultimate goal is to have cheap, reliable package tooling and better workflows. You can see more information. I'm happy to take questions.
So we have 2 minutes for questions.
So as a Linux user, I'm always compiling all the packages. Would pack cache the compiled packages?
Yes, I have to tell you, it doesn't do it yet.
Okay.
Because that's just a little bit harder, you know, because it's really hard to say, you know, cache invalidation is like one of the notorious problems, right, of computer science. So it's really hard to say, you know, when it should rebuild it and when it should just use the one from the cache. But it will very soon do that.
Well,
Yeah.
hello. Do you have any advice for project-specific lib paths?
Yes. So the hard thing here is that, you know, so the current R package ecosystem is not really designed for that, but you can use, you know, some tools to help with that. Like what Pack does is that it creates this R profile, you know, in the project. So as long as you start R from there, and then your IDEs can help you with that it's always started like that. You know, then it will use that profile, and that profile will set up the lib paths properly. So you have like an R profile file, you know, within your project, and you commit that to your repository, so everybody has that.
Yeah, I think it's fine. So let's thank Gábor again.